Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the world of iRacing here for the Formula 4 at Raceface. And it is going to be a fantastic one because we are going to be having a little bit more fun around a circuit that I truly enjoy. My name is Stephen Koenig, and not joining me in the box, but is in my ear is Jan Price. He is actually working on a setup for the UK Motorsport Championship, so he's going to keep an eye on all the action and listen to the racing at hand, but is going to be out for the evening. But with that being said, let's take a look at the track as our drivers make their way around it. Welcome to the world of Oulton Park for the Adendorff machinery and Raceface round 3 of the F4s, and I'm really looking forward to it. Oulton Park, a very difficult circuit if you get it wrong, but a lot of fun to sling it around the circuit as you battle your way through, and especially in single-seaters. You've got to make sure you don't lock up. You've got to make sure you keep it all together, and you power your way down to the wire. It is 18 degrees Celsius out there, so a little bit of a chilly UK weather, and a little bit humid out there as 47%. But one thing that is concerning is the 7-kilometer headwind, as we see Bago making his way down. He's going to feel the headwind, but with the second chicane not there, you got to have to work out where are you going to make some passes, as we saw in the TCRs. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I see quite a few of you are here, and yes, a bit of a smaller grid that we have this evening. Due to here in South Africa, we've got something called Stage 6 load shedding, which means the drivers, well, that were participating, unfortunately, caught out with the power not being around. Not all have generators or backup systems that allow them to keep racing, so we do have a smaller field. But on the positive side, if you're here tonight, you're going to score some valuable points. And taking a look through, we've got Bago Krobler. He's out in the Rothmans colors, having a bit of fun for Hybrid Academy, followed by Jeff Hancock's. Jeff Sended Hancock's looking to get a little bit more of a run. We saw him try and push the boundaries in practice, getting a bit sideways every so often. And we got Herman Lazarus of cheapercars.co.za. Herman keeping Mr. Consistent the whole time, which is always fantastic to see. And good to see him out there. Werner Swart going out on the track, first of the backmarkers team, going to be rocking and rolling. Johan Ferree out on the circuit as well, our defending TCR champion, and also the Mellow Yellow driver, hoping to go and score some points here tonight at Oulton Park for the F4s. It's going to be an exciting one for him. Really looking forward to it. Doug Herber out on circuit for Team Tryhard Orange, followed by our international contingent all the way from the UK. And it is the young man James Pepper from Cool Camels with his dad, Steve Pepper, unfortunately unable to make it, but is watching. And I learned out this evening that Steve Pepper actually works in a prison as one of the guards there. So he is watching his young son go and battle out the circuit while he sits at work, chomping at the bit, hoping to get a bit closer. They also had a good race in the F4 in the Limits of Adhesion Championship this past weekend. Christopher Bush, he's out on circuit once again, looking to improve his time. He's been having a little bit of a rough season, but that Alfa Romeo coloured F4 looking to make an impact. Etienne Swart also out on track. Nico Killerman and Timothy Stanton rounding out our field here at Oulton Park. Couple of guys jumping into the chat. Roland Ferreira saying go Werner and go Etienne as he's putting in a cheer. I know that Lewis Nokia is also going and saying how's it from the world, which is good to see. This is the Adendorff Machinery Mart Raceface F4 Championship, and at moment's glance right now we have got Jan Free with a 1:28.6. James Pepper jumping into second place with a 1:29.9, getting those tires all warmed up. Doug Herber 1:30.058. Jeff Hancock's, who's out in fourth and looks like he's doing a bit of rallycross driving as well here at Oulton Park. Not the correct way to go, Jeff, but you'll get it there. I believe in you, buddy. Timothy Stanton also getting a little bit more of a run. He's lying in fifth place at the moment, hoping to get a bit more run through the field, as the rest of our drivers still trying to put in a valuable lap. So let's actually go on board with our first place man, Johan Ferree, as he makes his way through. This is into a 7-kilometer headwind before the right-hander. You've got to keep it all together. and keep your foot onto the power. You see a slight lift as they try and carry it through. You will notice cars a little bit later start to get a little bit sideways as those rear tires wear down. We've got two 20-minute heats that the drivers are going to have to compete with and keep it all together, and that does make things a lot more difficult for our drivers. Two 20-minute heats does take a lot out of you, as we've seen all season. This is round 3, but does follow on board for a lap on Johan Ferrie's car as he comes across the line, heading into turn 1. Difficult one. You gotta keep it all in 5th gear. Run it out a little bit wide, not too wide to not score a track limit. Down through the mountain into the long left-hander. Gotta feather the throttle all the way through. Get back onto the power. Don't run out too wide. We've seen lots of off tracks for there as he makes his way through the kink. You've got to keep your foot absolutely planted through the kink left-hander, then hard onto the anchors, heading into the hairpin. Keep up the power though, maintaining that 3rd gear back into 4th. Now we're heading into one of the tighter chicanes. You've got to keep the power on, line it up, go as straight as you can, over the curb, back on the power, allow the rear to slide out. Slight touch of the dirt can cause a lot of problems as you make your way down the straight. This is where the slipstream comes in, and the drivers are going to have to battle it out. Under slight lift through the right-hander, carry the momentum through under the bridge, keeping it all together. Gonna go up into 6th gear before you back it down into 5th. Little feather of the throttle, get the momentum out. Easy way to get a pass underneath there. You can just put a person offline on the outside. Now into a little bit of a harder braking zone. 3rd gear, a lot of people tend to go down to 2nd, or they keep it in 4th and fall off the circuit. Carry the momentum up the hill and back across the line for setting a lap time. That 1:28.1 to beat James Pepper lying in 2nd place, hoping to get a little bit more of a run. So let's see how he's going to be able to do it. With Doe Gerber currently in 3rd, Bego Krobler in 4th place, Nico Killerman in 5th, 6th is Timothy Stanton, Werner Swart, Jeff Hancock, Herman Lazarus, along with Etienne Swart, Christopher Bush, and Jason Coetzee coming into the party as well. So Jason just jumping in last minute. I think his power just returned, so that's why he's able to get back. The RDSA driver has been on a bit of a charge of late here in the Air Forces. We see Bego Krobler getting a little bit on the dirt and losing out that lap time. He's going to try and clear up those tires and get back racing. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification icon for all the racing that comes here at Raceface. This is round 3 of the Adendorff Machinery Mart Raceface F4. And in a 4-round series, it does make things rather difficult because next week is our final round for the F4s for this season 1. And the drivers are going to have to maximize the points now or never. You want to get across the line. And unfortunately, with a smaller field, due to the likes of load shedding here in South Africa, that we haven't seen a couple of drivers, some even stepping out and able to get their rigs to a friend's house to get it running, or going and borrowing power from their mate's generator as well. As we see Jason Coetzee and Bego Krobler going and making his way around. Bego trying to keep as much into the toe as possible, and there's Jason off track. Just not able to carry the momentum through the hairpin, and that cost out time. So a couple of drivers just finding this track very, very tricky. Oulton Park being one of these circuits that either will make it or break it for your race, and the guys are going to have to figure out what's going to work, especially around this very tight circuit. Not quite sure what the guys are going to be doing at the moment because it's going to be a difficult run. So let's see how it's going to, as they battle their way through from drive, who's going to be able to get things going. Through the corners, Christopher Bush just getting it lit up, and that's a difficult thing through that right-hander. As you get in, it's unfortunately lightens up underneath you. It's very easy to go and slip and get the slide as you get a bit of a tank sapper, and that can eat up your race in a flash, as we saw. James Pepper, though, all the way out from the UK, part of the Cool Camels team. Been doing a great representation in the F4s over at Limits of Adhesion, and going and taking the fight to the pros. But the South Africans have been proving rather difficult. This circuit, though, he's a little bit quicker, and personally have raced against him around Oulton Park. It's not going to be an easy run to try and catch up. But Doherb is doing everything he can, because you take a look at the lap times. 1:29.042 for James Pepper. Doherb 1:29.1 as his quickest lap time. So he's really trying to get within arm's reach of James Pepper for that start. Johan Krobler, which is also known as Bago Krobler, is down in fourth place, 1:29.148. So getting a bit of pace to try and catch up. Jeff Hancock's, he's still maintaining his drive, trying to get out of that 7th place spot. Jason could see still needing to put a time on the board. Currently at the bottom of the field, right behind Christopher Bush. So we're hoping to see them get a little bit more drive as they make their way through here at the Raceface F4, powered by Adendorff Machinery Mart. And they do have that incredible prize on the line at the end of the championship. Quite a few thousand rand of a toolbox on the line, sponsored by Adendorff Machinery Mart as their first step into sim racing sponsorship, which is absolutely fantastic. We're glad to have them through the season for the F4s, and a big thank you to the Adendorff Machinery Mart team for being a part of the Raceface family, especially on this first season of the F4s. Roland Ferreira getting a good drive. He's hoping to keep up some pace, but Jason could see as we battle his way around. This is Timothy Stanton of Roland Manifields Racing, having a great time out there. He's currently lying in 6th place in the Red Bull colours, hoping to pull a Max Verstappen. Oh, touching the dirt there. Going to back it out, though, and try and get a little bit more pace underneath him. Get a little bit of a clean lap with those tyres, and then try it once again. Jeff Hancock of Team Tryhard Racing is going to be looking to get on the power. He's been representing over Seas Racing in various championships in the F4s, hoping to get a little bit more of a run. So far his races have been to and fro, so we're going to have to see what he can do here in the world of Raceface F4s for round 3 at Oulton Park. Timothy Stanton moving out of the way, especially for the chicane, allowing the guys to make their way through. Christopher Bush, though, still needing to put a lap time on the board. The 777 car hoping to get a little bit more of a run, utilizing the Alfa Romeo colours. Going to pull maybe a Bottas and try and get his way through to the line and keep it all consistent. He's been having some interesting racing, unfortunately, but looking to improve every single time he gets out on the circuit, which is always fantastic to see. Our drivers out here, though, being absolute pros they are, looking to try and get a little bit more of a run. You can see a few of them lining out the way of one another, allowing to get a clean lap in as we start getting closer to the end of the qualifying here at Oulton Park. It's not going to be an easy one, and I think all our drivers are going to have to be well aware of the situation at hand, as they've got only a couple of minutes remaining of this qualifying session before they will be jumping in for Heat 1. I do apologize. Round 3, Heat 1. 20-minute race after this. 12 cars out on field versus the usual 30 that we've seen. In turn, the drivers a little bit more thankful about that. They've got a little bit more room to breathe as they get back into the tow. And as mentioned, there is drivers unfortunately out due to the various load shedding around the country here in South Africa, but they have tuned in from around the country and around the world to watch the epic action that's happening here at Raceface, which is brilliant to see. Roland Ferreira, Steve Pepper, Lewis Nokia, and more, all tuning in to be a part of the racing, just to go and see what the drivers can do here at Oulton Park, a circuit that's synonymous to making or breaking careers, and where we also had our South African Garth Weberski, his son Jared Weberski, getting his first ever podium in a F4 in the British F4. So bit of a amazing feat for the South Africans, and also beautiful to see it that we are able to pay a little bit of homage to the South Africans, paving their way forward in the international scene, especially those DAW colours returning back to the world of Formula Racing overseas. But out at the top, Johan Ferrari going and beating out Jason Coetzee, who is now in second place. Look at the lap time, 1:28.1 over Jason Coetzee's 1:28.5. He's trying to improve it. Bego Krobler in third place. James Pepper in fourth. Dirk Herber in fifth. Herman Lazarus in sixth. Timothy Stanton in... Nico Killerman in seventh. Eighth place is Timothy Stanton. Jeff Hancock's in ninth. Werner Swart, Etienne Swart, and Christopher Busch still out as they're looking to try and get those last laps in right before the end. So far, top speed being had by our drivers is 159 kilometers an hour. Second to that is 38 to 137 kilometers as a top speed around this circuit, which is incredibly quick, especially in these cars. They all fixed setups, so got to bear that in mind for the drivers. They are only able to adjust their brake bias to suit what the cars are going to do. Each of them running the official Iracing setups, which is made by Iracing and the Iracing team. It's not made by anyone here, so there's no getting one up. Even myself, I had a little bit of a difficult time trying to figure out what I can do for lifting and coasting. Not a good idea to lift and coast. Christopher Busch practicing his starts, and it does look like Timothy Stanton as well. James Pepper going to try and get this lap in and move forward. So James hoping to get a little bit more of a drive for the Cool Camel team. Through the corner, keeping up the power, all looking okay. A little bit of degrading on the tire. He's going to utilize everything he can. Far left, as close as he can to the dirt. Swings it into the right-hander. 2 gears down, up on the throttle. A little bit of a lift as he had to go and correct the rear. And let's see if it'll bump him out of fifth place or... Nah, that's it. Lap time, unfortunately, only getting him into fifth place. That being said, though, let's get ready for the action here at Oulton Park, and it's going to be an incredible one, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look at our grid as the drivers are going to start lining up. Just waiting for the marshals to signal that it's all done and dusted. They've got a slight waiting time that all the drivers have to be aware of. This is where the nerves start creeping in. You start wondering, have I done enough? Will I be okay? You start adjusting your clutch to hope that you can just get that little bit of a jump and stop the wheel spin. Otherwise, you're going to eat it rather hard into the wall. And there is our qualifying as it stands. Johan Ferrari, Jason Coetzee, Bego Krobler, Timothy Stanton, James Pepper, Dirk Herber, Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman, along with the likes of Jeff Hancock, Werner Swart, Etienne Swart, and Christopher Busch rounding out our field as they line up on the grid, getting ready to go. It is going to be a bit of a heart in throat moment for the likes of Johan Ferrari, who is out in first place. First time he's starting first in these cars and hoping to get the jump. Jason Coetzee lying in second place, hoping to also get the launch off a line, close down the distance as we wait for the lights. 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 lights, and away we go. Green flag, slow start by the field as they make their way through. It does look like Werner Swart, though, got a fantastic start. He gets a little bit more of a jump. Johan Ferrari leading out the field with Jason Coetzee right on the back of him. Bego Krobler trying to close down the distance. Timothy Stanton now has got James Pepper all over his rear gearbox, looking to try and get past. Inside, outside, battling his way through. Herman Lazarus also getting the jump as he goes side by side with Dirk Herber as they make their way down to the wire. Johan Ferrari now locking down that inside as Jason Coetzee gets by, pushes him out wide. Here comes Bego Krobler. Bego sending it around the outside, does touch dirt. Can he close it in? Jason Coetzee locking it up as he loses a bit of time. Bego just managing to get around Ferrari. Ferrari's going to come back at him into the chicane. That is allowing Timothy Stanton to get into the toe, trying to pull himself along as they get into the slipstream, now into the headwind. This is where it's going to make it or break it as James Pepper right up the rear gearbox of Timothy. He's going to try and get as close as he can before that right-hander. Hard on the brakes. Nope. Going to just only slightly lift, coast, carry it through as Timothy goes off circuit. You can see that limit of adhesion coming into play of those tires begging for forgiveness because they are still absolutely ice cold Timothy Stanton, though, having to really dial in and keep ahead of James Pepper, who's keeping the pressure on. Doug Herber a little bit further back, having a bit of a run. He has got Herman Lazarus behind him. It's trying to make up some time. Jeff Hancock's, Werner Swart, Etienne Swart, Nico, along with Christopher Bush and Nico Kellerman. Lewis Akir actually saying, let's go boys, have a blast. Well, I think they are, but as Jason could see, Bago Krobler, Jan Free, and the closest battle currently out on circuit is this gap right now, which is between Timothy Stanton and James Pepper as they look to go on the inside. Unable to do it just as yet. Jan Free getting the jump over Bago Krobler. It does look like Bago has gone off track. Bago Krobler has gone off circuit. And let's see if we could go take a quick look at what happened to the Rothmans. In through the right-hander, gets a little bit of a tank slapper, corrects it off into the dirt and goes venturing. That has thrown him down into 10th place as he tries to get back on before any more positions are lost. But out in front, Jason could see for the RDSA esports team, leading out the charge, Jan Free in second place, along with Timothy Stanton with James Pepper all over the back of him. James trying to look up on the inside, going the outside, trying to figure out where can he get past. Doug Herber in a little bit of no man's land at the moment, but looking in his mirrors to see Herman Lazarus and Jeff Hancock's battling it out. Side by side, the two go. Jeff going to try and send it up on the inside. Can he make it stick though? He's got the momentum. Can he get under braking? No, has to back out of it. Herman going and locking down the corner before he could even get past as they go and maneuver their way through these cars, turning into a rather challenging situation as they make their way around. Expect when we get into about 10 minutes, we're going to see some sliding going on from our drivers. Herman Lazarus, though, gets a poor exit out of the corner. That's allowed Jeff Hancock to line up side by side with them as they go into the braking zone. Jeff just getting ahead of Herman Lazarus. Can he carry the momentum without losing too much time? Does so, but now Herman right into the gearbox and looks to the inside, has to back out of it. He's going to try go around the outside, decides that he's not going to do it. Doug Herber getting a little bit of a run, but it does look like we have got smoke. Big smoke ahead of us. And that is Jeff Pepper went off circuit. What happened to Timothy Stanton, Jeff Pepper? And it does look like Timothy was a little bit slow into the corner. Oh, James having a collect in the rear and barrel rolls over. Timothy's got damage, but that is going to be James Pepper in a world of hurt, just going up the rear of the back of Timothy Stanton and barrel roll his way through. But in turn, Doug Herber saying thank you very much for that one. Jeff Hancock's now into 4th position. Herman Lazarus dealing with Werner Swart. Bago Krobler getting the jump over Etienne Swart, along with 9th place Christopher Bush. Timothy Stanton, Nico Kellerman still out on a run. James Pepper being towed back to the pit, I'm sure, trying to find himself after that massive barrel roll. And that's the difficulty about when you're running so close. All it takes is one driver to be a little bit slower into the corner than you expected, or you miss your brake marker just by a meter, and that can land up in a world of hurt. And as we saw, massive barrel roll once going and hooking wheels. So this is going to be a big fight between them. Herman Lazarus dealing with Werner Swart at the moment. He's got a fantastic drive out of the corner. Going to run right up against the gearbox. Werner really pushing hard. Herman having to really figure out what he can do. Goes out a little bit wide to try and keep it all together as they make their way around. This is Heat 1 of Heat 2, so there will be a second chance for the drivers to go and make up some time. Bago Krobler, though, big send up on the inside into the hairpin, locking it up on his way in. And what a run that was on Werner Swart. And gotta say, pretty risky move to go deep into that corner. You can easily run out wide. Oh, and it does look like Herman Lazarus going and losing out. What happened to Herman into the chicane? Did he take too much curb and that just twisted the rear around? Let's find out. In through the left-hander, right-hander. Oh, just having that tail snap out underneath him. Luckily, far enough off that the field did not go and come into play for him, but landing into a world of hurt for himself. Jason could see out in front, though, leading out by a good 2 seconds, or 1.9 seconds at the moment, to Johan Free. Doug Herber trying to chase him down in 3rd place, 1:28.9 being the fastest lap time. Jeff Hancock starting to close down the distance between the two of them. Bago Krobler and Werner Swart also on a great charge with one another. Bago trying to do a little bit of recovery drive after the start. Werner having a great time out there. Etienne Swart having a great time. Taking a look at who's where and what's happened. Jason Coetzee's moved up 1 place since he started. Jan Fourie up, down 1 place. Doug Herber up 3. Werner Swart, though, getting into 4th place, as it does look like there was an incident ahead of him, and that was a bit interesting. Let's see what happened as Bago Krubler got past Jeff Hancock. So let's go back and see that pass. And now let's try that again, shall we? Werner Swart getting past Jeff Hancock. So let's see. It looks like Jeff just caught the tail and had both Bago and Werner Swart come past him. He wasn't able to get the drive as much as wanted, but it's now dropped him down the order. Timothy Stanton, a little bit further down through the order, is lying in 11th place. So the racing now is starting to open up. Closest battle on circuit, though, is Jeff Hancock's and Bago Krubler going at one another. They're hoping to get a little bit more of a charge, tucking up into the toe. Jeff Hancock's on a bit of a recovery drive since his little bit of loss of drive in through turn 3. Most positions gained, though, has to go to Werner Swart. Plus 6 positions since he started, which has been a fantastic drive for him. Timothy Stanton and James Pepper down 7 positions, so they have got, unfortunately, the biggest losses in the race. So let's see how this is going to turn out, though. It does look like Bago Krubler is starting to open up a distance to the likes of Jeff Hancock's, feathering the throttle, getting a little bit closer to Werner Swart, a bit closer to him, who seems to have lifted ever so slightly to try and correct the car. Looking at the lap times, though, it is starting to drop down. Drivers starting to hit that 1:30 as their lap times. James Pepper having to retire the car by the looks of it after the very, very slight contact into the gearbox of Timothy Stanton. So we'll have to see how that's going to all work out come Heat 2 a little bit later this evening. Drivers really having to dig deep and try and figure out what's going to work for them at this point. As we see Bago Krubler closing down the distance. Little by little, he's cut it down to under a second to Werner Swart, carrying the momentum. Bago Krubler's last lap time was a 1:29.3, while Werner Swart was a 1:30.03. Remember, they did avoid Jeff Hancock, so maybe that loss of pace coming into it. Maybe Werner trying to protect the tyres a little bit longer, as they have 9 minutes completed of this 20-minute heat race for Heat 1 of round 3 here at Oulton Park for the Adendorff Machinery Mart F4 Championship, brought to you by Raceface. As he gets right up against the gearbox, you can see Bago now looking on the charge, does look to the outside, decides to get back into the toe, has to lift ever so slightly, gets onto the drive though, not running out wide, has got the drive on the corner exit. Will he be able to look up on the inside? Werner Swart trying to get him to the inside and unfortunately unable to block out. And Werner Swart now also having Jeff Hancock send it up on the inside. Jeff does go in a little bit deep into the hairpin. That costs him time. Werner now coming back at him into the toe, really pushing himself along. A little bit further back though, we have got Etienne Swart and Christopher Bush. They are close together, really having a fantastic run between the two of them as they get a little bit more knuckled down as the race continues. Doug Herber, though, I see dropping down the order, and that has cost him a bit of time. What happened to Doug Herber? Let's actually take a look. And I think this is the hairpin once again, going and having that snap oversteer. Braking hard, right-hander, and as we saw before, the rear just stepping out on the cars. And if you're just not able to catch it in time, you lose out a lot of time. Christopher Bush close to Etienne Swart at the moment, and looks like he has made that overtake cleanly. So Etienne Swart now up into 9th place. Christopher down into 10th. Going further up through the field, Bago Krubler, Jeff Hancock's, along with Werner Swart in a massive, massive race of their own. While our leader, Jason Coetzee, now opening up a 2-second gap to Jan Fourie, who is 13 seconds ahead of these three, who are fighting it out for 3rd place. Werner Swart right up against the gearbox of Jeff Hancock's. Jeff now having to keep it all together as they put the power down into the hairpin. Can he go late on the brakes? Jeff trying, and it looks like Bago actually going and locking up. Jeff goes wide, lands up with a problem, and there might have been the slightest of contacts with Werner Swart on that spin. And just that rear lighting up as the camber changes underneath him. So that's going to throw him way, way down the order. Jeff trying to get it back onto the circuit, but has lost out the position to Doe Herber. Doe says thank you very much. Nico Killerman also saying thank you very much. He's had a clean race so far and is on the climb. So Jeff Hancock, who after all that work, now needs to try and fight his way back up. And it does look like he's hurt the tires and having to go and tow the car back. So let's take a look at when you return. Do we see a little bit of a jump? And yeah, that's car just not working out for him. So having to get it towed back, unfortunately, maybe damage on the rear was a little bit too much. And opting rather tow it back, get himself into the pits, get a repair done as quick as possible, and get back racing to try and catch up to the rest of the field. As our drivers still circulate, 12 minutes and 26 seconds done. Jason could see out in first place. Johan Ferree in second place, trying to close down the distance and eat into that 2.5 second gap. Bago Krobler in third place, along with Werner Swart. Herman Lazarus has got Nico Kilman now starting to close down the distance. Nico has been on a charge and sees Herman Lazarus of cheapcars.co.za just ahead of him. And keep an eye for Nico. He's been on that charge all season long, trying to improve his racing every step of the way and has been getting faster and faster. Last lap time, though, was a 1:29.9 as his quickest lap, and that was just slightly above his quickest lap time, 1:29.4, while you got Herman Lazarus, 1:30.85. So Herman definitely not having the same pace at the moment and is going to have Kilman right onto the back of him as fast as possible as that gap starting to close down little by little. 0.2, 0.3 of a second through every third corner at the moment. And we do see a little bit of a change as Etienne Swart getting ahead as he goes through. It does look like we have Bago that went off circuit. So let's take a look at what happened to Bago Krobler. This was in through the second last corner, runs it out wide, comes off the throttle. That was the last corner, and he comes off wide, gets back onto the power, gets going once again. I see that Christopher also had a bit of a problem, so let's try and go back to him. And we saw him slightly in the background when we were looking earlier. Oh, just wheel on the inside, and what a crash into the tires. Ow. Not the way you want things to go. And unfortunately, going and smashing the steering to pieces, and I think going and scoring a concussion while doing so, because just that little touch on the dirt landed up with a monstrous impact face first into the tire wall. And well, that's why we got halo devices, folks, especially when we are going to be a monster impact like that. So he's going to have to tow it back to the pits after a bit of a smack. Jeff Hancock's back out on the field after his incident a little bit earlier on. Christopher Bush and James Pepper retiring their cars for Heat 1. Timothy Stanton trying to get a little bit more of a run. Etienne Swart on the charge at the moment, trying to catch up to Doug Herber, who's in 7th place. 6th is Nico Killerman, right onto the back of Herman Lazarus, who's trying to power his way through at the moment. Both these two drivers looking to dig deep as they carry on the momentum. Werner Swart is in 4th place, along with Bago Krobler. And Johan Ferree in 2nd place. Jason could see lying in 1st place. I do see Timothy Stanton actually did have a problem where he came off track, as we heard likes of Jason going and buzzing the motor out of the hairpin. Timothy Stanton, though, did go off track. Is this just running out wide? Does so, lifts off the throttle, tries to carry it back, as we see Christopher's car in the pits, busy smoking, as it's been a little bit smashed to pieces there. He's going to have to do a fair amount of repair work to that car. Nico Killerman onto the back of Herman Lazarus, who went a little bit deep into the corner, trying to get the power back on, though, into the toe, trying to carry the momentum through. Nico doing everything he can. Herman soaking up the pressure at the moment, having to catch the car And as Roland Ferreira, F4 car, 0 tires, 1. I think around this circuit, tires plenty. Every other car in existence, 0. I'm yet to see a car smack the tires and survive, even in the sim racing world to the world of real life. Those tires are absolutely detrimental, especially when you're smacking that speed into that corner, because it's just so little things you can do. Got James Pepper saying, real shame about my incident, huge apologies to Timothy as well. Winton also to send sorry to him as well. Hope for a better race. Yeah, no, it was nothing more to do than a racing incident. You came into the corner, both were going a little bit at different speeds into the gearbox, the lightest of touches. Unfortunately, with these cars, can change a race in a flash. We know this, and James, don't worry. Just take a deep breath and come back. Heat 2 is going to be your heat. We can feel it. You got the pace there, buddy. You got the pace. And I know your dad, Steve Pepper, is going to be saying, listen, you cause anything naughty, I'm going to have a chat to you personally. So with the big man being in charge of the big house, you've got to be very careful. I know I'm going to get in trouble for that one. Herman Lazarus, though, has got Nico Kilman keeping him for company, as these two are the closest battle out on circuit. And you can see Herman just not getting the drive out of the chicane, taking a more cautious approach, while Nico is going and battling it out, racing as hard as he can, getting into the toe, in through the right-hander, lifting off a throttle, tries to get back onto it, as Herman doing everything he can. As we jump onto the roll bar, we can see how hard he's having to really work the wheel to keep it all together. Slightest of slips on the rear, having to just counter steer every so often. And Nico, this is his view at the moment, just seeing the back of that F4 of Herman Lazarus, and he knows he just got to get the momentum. Hanging in third gear, goes out wide, having to lift right at the last just to go and see that he can carry the momentum through. That's cost him valuable time as they get the power back on. But lap time starting to drop though, as we see Jason Coetzee out in first place. Fastest lap time was at 1:28.35, but he did get her off track on his previous lap, so that did take away his last lap time, which would have been the quickest, a 1:28.14. And that would have been his quickest one, but unfortunately a drop of wheel on the dirt, and that lost out a bit of time. Jan Ferré in second place, doing his last lap time of 1:28.26. Oh, that's his best time, 1:28.26. Last lap time, 1:29.19. So the guys are already on a monstrous charge. Steve Pepper saying he already spoke to his son, and saying, listen, you don't want to wear the orange onesies that we've got here. So I always enjoy to see a family give a bit of trouble to one another. You know, go and rib one another. Always makes the racing fun, keeps it all lively, and it's good to have you guys out, all the way out from the UK, and keep an eye on the action, especially while you're on shift as well. Bego Krubler in third place. Nice recovery after his drive back to where he started though, and is sitting a little bit further back than planned as he makes his way around. Werner Swart in fourth place with Herman Lazarus, who's still keeping the drive up on Nico Kilman, who just keeps losing that drive every so often, has to come off the gas, then try and get back onto the power a little bit later. Doug Herber lying in 7th place. 8th is Etienne Swart, Timothy Stanton, Jeff Hancox, Christopher Bush, and James Pepper currently in 12th as Christopher loses it. Big crash into the wall, over the bump. Too much turning in. I think that's gone and broken the drive shafts on the back. You could hear him buzzing the motors, but unfortunately no drive there. And let's see if we could actually try to take a look at that. He's off track. There it is. Let's go to the roll bar. And as he turns in, runs out a little bit wide, feathering the throttle. Touch. Oh, rear onto the dirt. Big impact. And has to try and get his way through. But checkered flag coming up. Jason Coetzee taking first place for Heat 1 of round 3 here at Oulton Park. Second place going to Johan Ferré. One position down, but off to a great run. Bego Krubler going to be taking third place if he can keep it all on the line at the moment. Couple of corners to go. Feathering the throttle. As he comes up the hill, he'll be crossing in third place, taking the final stop on the podium, the final position on the podium. Werner Swart coming across the line. He's finishing up in 4th place. 5th going to Herman Lazarus, who's got Nico Kilman right behind him, but I think he has done enough to just hold the position. So Herman Lazarus 5th, 6th Nico Kilman, along with Doug Herber, Etienne Swart, Timothy Stanton, and finally Jeff Hancock's coming across the line. Steve Pepper saying congratulations to Jason Coetzee on the win, and he's looking forward to seeing what Heat 2 is going to look like. I perfectly agree on that one. The drivers having an absolutely stellar run, and yes, it might be a smaller field, but our drivers putting in a massive result here at Oulton Park. But ultimately there can only be one winner here for Heat 1, and that goes to Jason Coetzee, along with the likes of Johan Ferrari in 2nd place. So as our remaining cars make their way around the circuit, I see Lewis Leclerc saying, well done to the Swart brothers. Yes, a definite well done to them, scoring positive results, 4th and 8th place. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, with Jason Coetzee out in 1st place for RDSA Esport, Jan Ferrari, Bego Krobler, Werner Swart, Herman Lazarus, Nico Kilman, Doug Herber, Etienne Swart, Timothy Stanton, Jeff Hancock's going and finishing up in 10th place. Then 11th, Christopher Busch, after his 2 monstrous crashes. Hopefully he's all okay, getting himself sorted out for the next one. And then James Pepper lying in 12th place after his early on incident where he had to go and get it all towed and repaired. So we'll have to see how it all lines up, especially for our next heat coming up in just a few moments. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're liking what you're seeing here in the world of Raceface, especially for the likes of our F4s, don't go anywhere, because the racing's only heating up. We did see our touring cars last weekend have a lot of fun. Heat 2 being the most interesting to watch, as the guys had to really try and carve their way through the field, and it's all up for the drivers to figure out what's going to be the capabilities of their driving skills to keep it all together. Now that they've figured out what the tire wear feels like, they've figured out what the fuel usage is feeling like, and what the competition is feeling like tonight. To give you a bit of a recap though, taking a look at who's where in our championship as it stands. Troy Dolenchik out in Jason Coetzee out in 1st place. Troy Dolenchik in 2nd. Johan Ferrari in 3rd. Julian Familiaris in 4th. Johan Krobler, Andrew Thomas, Timothy Stanton, Luke Leclerc, Jeff Hancock, Herman Lazarus in 10th. Paul Herber, Nico Kilman, Doug Herber, Werner Swart, Werner Skuman, Janeman Price in 16th, Christopher Busch in 17th, 18th is Etienne Swart, followed by Tristan de Norbrigge, Byron Mitchell, Roloff Tillerman, Kurt Glashagen, Weinand Kursop, Aiden Russell, Chase Herald, Gabriel Dos Santos, Paul Rackshaw, Steve Pepper in 28th, 29th is Yuri Ompi Swart, followed by Peter Jabert and James Pepper lying down in 31st position. He's hoping to get a better run come Heat 2. As we wait for the track to open up for Heat 2, our marshals having to do a little bit of cleanup work out there, as they had to get some wings, tires, spare parts all removed off the circuit before our drivers will head out back onto the track for their Heat 2 and the final heat of round 3 here at Oulton Park International without the Hiss Loop. Oulton Park being a very difficult circuit for the guys, having to learn a little bit of close racing with very unforgiving corners. If you run out a little bit wide, you will get caught out with immense amount of pain. So the guys are going to have to keep an eye out, especially on this 4.3 kilometer circuit. It is a very, fairly long circuit for what it is, running through the hills of the UK. The drivers having to figure out what they can do here at Cheshire, and definitely not supporting the likes of Blackpool, otherwise they'll land up in a world of trouble. Steve, am I right? If you walk up to Little Budsworth, Cheshire, England, and say, I'm a Blackpool fan, well, we can find you under the Warwick Bridge, especially buried 10 feet under. I'm sure that's a big no-no, especially there at Oulton Park. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're seeing, hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, leave a thumbs up if you're liking what you're seeing. Also, give us a thumbs down if you want to see something a little bit different in terms of the world. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know in the comments as well. as we wait for Heat 2 to start in 2 minutes. We will be heading out. Our drivers will have a little bit of a warm-up for their Heat 2, and they'll have their 15-minute qualifying to try again, go for that first place. So all's not lost, especially in Heat 1. So the drivers are going to have to figure out what can they do to get a little bit more drive coming Heat 2. Lots on the line for a lot of these drivers out there. Due to the smaller grid, there is valuable positions and valuable points to be gained, especially for Season 1 of the championship. And like we said, our first place man that is out there, he's getting and scoring some major points for his championship to start running away with it. So let's see how it's going to go. Oulton Park is one of the most picturesque circuits out in the world of Little Budsworth in Cheshire, out in the UK. The guys having to see some amazing undulations, beautiful photos. Also, the home for a lot of the touring cars, but also known to hold a variety of top-ranked professional races, from the British Formula 3s to the British Touring Car Championship, right up to the Formula non-championship round of Formula 1 races in the 1960s and the 1970s, and which, I mean, that is a fantastic thing. But it's a little that no one knows, and you won't find it quite in the history books unless you look up the International Gold Cup. Now, the International Gold Cup also came out to South Africa, and also went out to, at the time, was called Rhodesia, also known as Zimbabwe. It raced around the Bulawayo Motorsport in the 1960s, the early 1960s, where we did have a Rhodesian Formula 1 car. It was called the RE Racing there, and had a bit of fun, which was a Rhodesian version of a Formula 1 Cooper. More you know. The Coopers having wide success here at Oulton Park, getting a little bit more drive, and their build made it all work, especially with those alpha engines, those 1600 alpha engines, able to claw their way down to the wire. But it's into the 1970s where cars started getting a little bit more developed in terms of aero. The cars were able to get a quicker time around the circuit and improve. The touring cars having tons of action, and as I brought up, this also being where we saw Jared Weberski going and scoring podium in the F4's first ever big stand for South Africa, joining up into the international world of F4s in the British F4 Cup. How's that for a bit of information out there for you guys? And a bit of, well, barroom talk, if I can put it that way. I've also heard that Oulton Park has one of the best bars out close to the circuit, where you get to hear all the racetracks and well, all the sounds from the racetrack, but also makes some home craft brews that will really knock your socks off. Hopefully they got chocolate milkshakes for me, because especially next to the lakeside, as they make their way through Cascades, which would be turn 3 into Island Bend, and Shell's Corner being turn 5 in that massive hairpin that the guys are going to have to power their way through. That lakeside always is fantastic, also known for one of the biggest fishing spots out in Oulton Park, where guys have really done some fantastic work and caught some amazing stuff. Lots of competitions held out there. So not even in the world of racing do we have some interesting stuff, but also around the time. But let's get back to what is the best, and that is Oulton Park for the F4s. As our drivers getting ready to rock and roll, leaving the pits now. They will be starting their little bit of practice, which is to get themselves going, get themselves warmed up, get to grips with the circuit conditions, and get refocused. Drivers all starting to get their cars back out through the pits. And I see we do have some new drivers joining into the party, like Luke Lucchese has come to the party. He's ready to have a bit of fun. Luke Lucchese, lastminute.com. But is going to be stomping around for Heat 2, so I'm looking forward to seeing that coming out. Bago Corbler currently on screen, followed by Herman Lazarus of cheapercars.co.za is out on circuit currently. He's hoping to get a little bit more of a drive and benefit from his Heat 1. Having a little bit of a tank slap, it cost him some time, but ultimately had the climb on the way back. Doak Herber also looking to improve. He also had that little bit of a slide early on, and having to try and figure out what can he do to get the car sorted out. Luke Lucchesi out on the circuit, the RDSA Pantera Racing. This is going to be his first time out in the F4 here at Raceface for the Adendorff Machinery Mart Raceface F4 Championship Season 1, and is going to be really keeping it all together as he powers his way through. James Pepper back in the car after having a discussion with Steve Pepper, his dad, who's currently out watching all the way from work, watching his son. So good to have you, Steve, and also out from the UK with the Cool Camels, going and keeping an eye on it. Cool Camels actually being a motorsport, how can I say, motorsport memorabilia. If you want some really awesome drawings done, all hand drawn and made, they are absolutely amazing. Go and take a look at the Cool Camels. I went and took a look at them, and I was trying to think of my man cave. I won't lie. Got in trouble though, I'm thinking about the man cave, because well, I'm a little bit far from the UK, sitting here in South Africa. I'll ask my brother, who's over there now. Dirk Herber, hoping to get a little bit more of a drive this time around. And Etienne Swart, after seeing his drive, he really went and put his foot down, climbed up through the ladder and hoping to get a little bit more of a run as we start running to the end of the time for our practice. The check flag will be going out, and we will be heading over to qualifying shortly. Jan Free, Bego Krobler, Herman Lazarus, James Pepper, Jeff Hancock, Doug Herber, Christopher Bush, Luke Lucchesi, Etienne Swart, Timothy Stanton, Nico Killerman, all going to be heading out to the circuit for their final time. Heat 2 of this amazing circuit here at Oulton Park in the F4s. You can see everyone lining up. It is open qualifying, so all will be going out at the same time. As you see them barreling, they will go and battle it out. Steve Pepper saying they'll post anywhere in the world. That's true. That's true. They do. They really do. Yeah, I'm trying to convince myself not to spend more money, considering iRacing's updates are coming out fairly shortly, and there's more than one car that I'm looking at. Especially the LDMH and the brand new Toyota SF23 that's going to be heading out has got me a little bit thinking. And the Acura LDMH is also quite an interesting one. Not too sure about the oval car. That's coming out tomorrow, if I remember correctly, the update. There's going to be holding the cars, along with the new Ferrari, the new updated 296 Ferrari. That's going to be coming into play as well. The 296 is going to be a very interesting car for the world of GT3 racing, and going to be an update. It will be the second update in a year on the Ferrari 488 being retired, and 296 coming in. But I do want to point out, none of that matters because the best things are currently out on the circuit. And that's open wheel, single-seater action. The F4 is mainly being it. Oh, as Bago goes and gets a bit of a sideways, barrels off into the dirt, trying to get himself sorted out. James Pepper trying to make his way through as Herman Lazarus, trying to give him a little bit of space as they make their way through. This is going to be an interesting one as they power their way through. So James Pepper looking to get a fast lap. Jan Free starting his qualifying lap. Now hoping to get a little bit more of a run. Bago Krobler trying to get going once again. Herman Lazarus starting his qualifying lap as he's onto the back of James Pepper. So Herman Lazarus now getting a little bit more of a run. Followed by Jeff Hancock, and that looks to be the car number 11 of Etienne Swart, Doug Herber, trying to make up some time, getting some heat into those tires. Christopher Bush also getting a little bit more of a run. Heat into the brakes, heat into the tires, and is going to be absolutely sending it. Each of them digging deep on this one as they battle their way through. So this is going to be an interesting one for all the drivers. Luke Lucchesi, though, that being his first time out on the circuit this between the two heats. And he missed out heat 1, returned for heat 2. Now has got his teammate, the RDSA Esports, right behind him. So he's trying to get a little bit more drive, figure out where to go. And you can see counter steering like no tomorrow to keep that car all in check as he makes his way through the chicane. And now this is going to be a bit of an interesting one. Etienne Swart also trying to get a little bit more drive. Timothy Stanton, Nico Killerman, Werner Swart, and Jason Coetzee, who is in the tow, trying to pull himself along. Jason Coetzee is in the pound seat at the moment because he's just utilizing the slipstream of the teammates ahead of him to try and break the lap time. But if his teammate goes a little bit slow, he will get caught out at the loss. Top speed was 139 kilometers an hour. Let's see if they'll be able to do it once again. And Jan Fourie coming across the line, putting in, going for his lap time, but it was deleted. James Pepper putting the first time on the board, 1:30.01. Herman Lazarus putting the second time on the board. Immediately, Jason could see, though, utilizing that slipstream has helped him a little bit. 1:29.7. James Pepper down into third place as Bego Krubler comes across the line. Johan Krubler off to a fantastic jump. Nico Kilman putting himself into third place. Now the times are starting to roll in. 1:29.01. Followed by Jason Coetzee, 1:29.7. Nico Kilman going on 1:29.72. James Pepper in fourth place on 1:30.01. Herman Lazarus in fifth. Doug Herber taking sixth place. Timothy Stanton, Etienne Swart, Christopher Busch all have got times on the board. Jan Fourie needing to put a time on the board. Jeff Hancock, Luke Lucchese, Werner Swart, and Troy Dolenschek coming out of the pit. So Troy Dolenschek now getting into the fight to go and see if he can score points for his championship. And that does open up the field a little bit more. It seems like the guy's just barreling in at the nick of time to get into the race as we gain more cars. 11, 12, 13, 14 cars versus the 12 we had a little bit earlier on. And it seems like with the power starting to return around here, all around South Africa, the drivers starting to just get in. They want to see the start of this race and be a part of the amazing championship. Jan Fourie puts himself into second place, 1:29.011, just slightly slower than Bego Krubler's last time of a 1:29.006, which is absolutely incredible. Jason Coetzee in third place with a 1:29.698. He's hoping to try get a little bit closer. Started in second place. And we'll have to try and figure out what's he going to do come Heat 2. Will he be able to get the run? Here, the bottom of those cars just going and rattling off the ground. Top speed at the moment, 136 kilometers hit by Bego Krubler. Herman Lazarus up into sixth place, jumping the likes of, Jeff Hancock's, and that all changes out because now Bego Krubler up into first place, followed by Johan Fourie in second, Doug Herber in third. Fourth is Jason Coetzee. He was caught up behind his teammates a little bit earlier. Nico Killerman with a great drive. He's into fifth place. Runs out a bit wide, trying to pull it all back. James Pepper making his way through. He's up on his lap time. Herman Lazarus in seventh. Jeff Hancock's in eighth. Ninth is Werner Swart, along with Timothy Stanton, Etienne Swart, and Christopher Busch. Still trying to get the momentum. Luke Lucchese and Troy Dolenschek are the last two need to put up times at the moment, but they've got quite some time left. 6 minutes completed of this 15-minute qualifying, and the drivers are going to have to really dig deep of what they can do. Really pull a rabbit out of the hat as they make their way around the circuit. Oh, Christopher losing it though. Slight tap on the wall, and I think that's going to be a toe pack, but yeah, that is a toe. Unfortunately, getting the slightest of dings on that front right, sorry, the front left, and just bending that arm ever so slightly on the front suspension. That is costing him a bit of time. Fastest lap time out of the field though, 1:28.898, set by Johan Fourie. Bego, who's having a great time. Bego Krubler, also known as Johan Krubler, in second place with that 1:29.006. His last lap time was a bit quicker, but he did go slightly off track, so that was his lap time deleted. His last lap time was 1:29.01. And that would have been very, very close, but unfortunately dropped off on the dirt, cost him a bit of time. He's having to try and figure out what he can do. Jason Coetzee out in fourth place. He's trying to move his way up through the field. 13 cars have done their times. Troy Dolenschek, who's coming across the line now, he's hoping to get a better time. 1:28.89. He immediately jumps into first place to get the jump on the field. 14 cars all qualified. As we start getting closer and closer to the end of our qualifying session, Troy Dolenschek will be leading out, along with Jan Fourie, who started in first in Heat 1. The yellow mellow driver now is currently in second place, needs to dig a little bit deep. Last lap time, 1:28.9. And literally the difference between them is 0.001 of a second between Troy Dolenschek and Jan Fourie. So he just really got to dig deep. Bego Krubler, I think a little bit of a wheel touching the dirt there. That's going to cost him a fair amount of time. He's trying to carry the momentum through any way he can at this point as they fight their way through, and maintains that third place. Doug Herber into 4th place, Jason Coetzee. In 5th, 6th, Luke Lucchese, along with Nico Kellerman. And just take a look, Jeff Hancock's coming across the line. He jumps himself into 6th place. 7th is Luke Lucchese, who is making up a bit of time. Nico Kellerman, James Pepper, Werner Swart jumping his brother, the likes of Etienne Swart. So the Swart family going and having a fight. It's a battle of brothers. Who's going to score the front seat of the car? Who's going to have the last cookie in the jar? Well, we're about to find out between the Swart brothers. I think that's the only way of describing it. If you have a battle with your brother out on circuit, it's going to be who's fighting for that last zoo biscuit. You all know that one. That last zoo biscuit at the back of the pack. You go and grab it. That tastes the best in the world. The problem is, only one person can have it. That's what the Swart brothers are fighting. Here at the Adendorff Machinery Mart, Raceface F4. Jeez, I've just made myself hungry. Shouldn't do that too often. Troy Dolenchik, last lap time, was his quickest, 1:28.51. Jan Fourie doing a 1:28.9, hoping to improve the drive. Bego Kroble up into 3rd place. Doherber into 4th. Luke Lucchese into 5th. Jason Coetzee down the order is in 6th place. 7th is Jeff Hancock. Now remember, Jason Coetzee started in 2nd place, so being in 6th is a little bit further down than where he wanted, especially with the drivers just ahead of him. Nico Kellerman also having a phenomenal drive, trying to get around the likes of Christopher Busch. He's hoping to get a little bit more of a chase. But Troy Dolenchik now has Jason Coetzee right up against him in terms of lap times. Jason Coetzee putting in the fastest lap time of a 1:28.63 for 2nd place. Well, his fastest lap time, which is absolutely incredible. Bettering this last lap time was Jeff Hancock's. Luke Lucchese, Nico Kellerman also getting a better lap time from his last. But out in front, though, those 1:28s are getting closer and closer. Troy Dolenchik, Jason Coetzee, Jan Fourie, all in the 1:28s. Bego Kroble in the 1:29s. Right down, Doug Herbert, Jeff Hancock's, Luke Lucchese, and Nico Kellerman are in 1:29s, along with James Pepper as a 1:29. Werner Swart, 1:29. Timothy Stanton, 1:29. Etienne Swart, Herman Lazarus, and Christopher Busch into the 1:30. So they've got to be well aware of the situation at hand and seeing how they can get the jump on the rest of the field, especially for the start of the race. But Troy Dolenchik, though, for the Sujin, very familiar with open single-seater racing in the Formula Fords, going to be battling it out yet again with Jason Coetzee. They have not only gone and battled it out in single-seater racing down in Cape Town, they have also done battle out on the circuits many, many times before in the touring cars and in the F4, so I'm looking forward to seeing who can get the jump, especially for the final heat of round 3. Jan Fourie is going to be keeping a close eye on them as he's going to close down the distance. Fourie, a very, very talented driver and with a very extensive motor racing background behind him in both rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, and a little bit into trying different cars into sports cars, and so he's hoping to get the drive. Bego Kroble, first of our sole sim racers, has never climbed into a single race, has never done any official practice or racing in a race car before. So he's the first of our sim racers that's out there, currently in 4th place, the Hybrid Academy driver. Then 4th place is Werner Swart, used to 2 wheels, now jumping into 4 wheels, and seems to be doing a bit of rally driving as well. Not quite what you want to be, but he's going to try his best. James Pepper, all the way out from the UK. This is his, I would say, his first official race was at Laguna Seca in the, no, it was the touring cars last week with the South African contingent. The only South Africans he's ever raced against is Doug Herber, Paul Herber, Jeff Hancock's, Stephen Koenig, and the likes of Joneman Price are the only South Africans he's ever seen on a circuit. Now coming across the waters in the Cool Camel car, him and his dad, to battle it out against us here in South Africa after the South Africans have taken the fight over to the UK, which is fantastic to see. Lots of drivers being a part of it. Luke Lucchese, also with a very extensive background in motorsport, hoping to get a little bit more of a drive and get a little bit more pace underneath him. The RDSA Pantera Racing driver also goes and sets up the Masters Racing, which is a category that is a different car every week and a different track every week. So not weekly, I think it's a bi-weekly race. I stand to be corrected. he heads it up with our Masters class, with the Masters class and the Junior class that are racing at the same time. Masters being 45 and up, Juniors being under 45. Jeff Hancock's out on the circuit as well. Mr. Sendit Hancock's also doing one of the best Sendits in the world, and that was early on in the days of the GT3 racing, in the earlier years of refined racing. Centered up on the inside and gained 4 positions just by the skin of his teeth at the Red Bull Ring into turn 1, and ever since then he was called Sendit, and well, that's his driving style. Very aggressive and got to be wide awake, especially in the mirrors when he comes by, because that small gap, he's going to go for it. Nico Killerman, also a fantastic drive. We've seen Nico Killerman being one of the newer names to the world of the sim racing here at Raceface. Not only going and racing in Iracing, but also in ACC as well. Assetto Corsa Competizione in the GT3 class, in the Sprint Series, and in the Grid Championship, which is out on Thursdays. He's also been participating in the TCRs. So just racing wherever he can to build up the skill, and it has been showing as well. So he's looking to claw up through the field. Etienne Swart in 12th place, hoping to get the jump on his brother a little bit further up through the field. Etienne Swart also coming from a world of racing 2 wheels, 4 wheels, all of it to get a little bit more fun, coming into the world of sim racing at the start of COVID, being the part of it and having a lot of fun. Herman Lazarus from cheapercars.co.za, might I say, Mr. Consistent himself, has unfortunately dropped a wheel on the dirt. He's trying to get himself going. Herman Lazarus also put in a massive fight during the Porsche racing. I remember when I first started in sim racing, back in the early times of iRacing, when I first started in iRacing here in South Africa, versed against Herman Swart on many occasions, along with Willem Boerthma, as we battled out in the Porsche Cup cars. And I got to say, one of the hardest guys to get past, because he can soak up so much pressure, folds those mirrors in, gets those elbows out, and will get fighting. Out in front though, Troy Dolanchik maintaining that first position of a 1:28.38. Jason Coetzee, who we see on screen, second place. They're hoping to get a little bit better. Comes off a throttle. Nah, that's just lost out the time through the Delta. Jan Ferrie's going to keep his foot in it though. He comes across the line. Will this jump him out of third place? Or will he stay in it? We'll find out. Trying to keep the power down. Last lap time. 1:28.84. Just narrowly missing out that second place. Bego Krobler still on the drive. He's making his way through. 2 more corners to go. He's got to try and carry it all the way through the kink, into the long right-hander. Down 1 gear. Hold it. Get back on the power. Keep it absolutely pinned before you get into the next right-hander. It's going to be down 2 gears, and you've got to keep your foot on the throttle. Rely on all that aerodynamic grip and mechanical grip that's underneath you. Believe it's there. Trying everything he can with the Rothmans, but was down on his Delta, so opting to pull in the pits for the start of the race as they make their way through. Very, very interesting in qualifying. Now it is time. Heat 2 of the round 3 here at Oulton Park for the Raceface F4 Championship, brought to you by Raceface and sponsored, might I also, I'm just going to say powered by Adendorff Machinery Mart for any of your machinery needs. Also your tools for the average Joe. They've got fantastic prices with international and industry grade components that you, well, international and industry leading in terms of tools, whether you're looking from a bicycle pump right up to the world of a compressor. They've got it all, especially at this time. They've got some good specials on generators. Won't lie, I looked at it. It's quite convincing. Troy Dolanchik out in first place. Jason Coetzee, Jan Ferrie, James Pepper, Bego Krobler, Luke Lucchesi, Werner Swart, Timothy Stanton. Followed by Doug Herber, Jeff Hancock, Nico Killerman, Etienne Swart, Herman Lazarus, and Christopher Bush. Rounding out our field. 14 cars starting Heat 2 here in the world of F4s. And we're about to go racing. And it's going to be a proper run to the line. Troy Dolanchik, along with Jason Coetzee, are taking up the front row. Jan Ferrie starting in third place. It's going to be on the outside line, which is where he wants to try and close down and stop James Pepper from going on the inside line. Jason Coetzee hoping to get the jump on first place. Troy Dolanchik, knowing that he's got a little bit more understanding of the car, especially after Heat 1, especially around this circuit. Can he make it work, though? We're about to find out. As the lights are on and we wait to go, Jim is ready to call green. Away, and away we go. Slow start. Faree getting a fantastic jump off a line. Clawing right onto the back. He gets right onto the back of Lexo Yako Kutsi, who goes in, or Jason Kutsi, who locks him out of it. Pepper losing our position to Bago Krobler, who gets the jump, trying to find his way back. James Pepper now has got Luke Lucchese looking up on the inside. Luke getting a fantastic start. Werner Swart getting a bit of a jump off a line with Timothy Stanton right behind him. Doe Herber going side by side with Jeff Hancock, Etienne Swart, Nico Kilman down in the positions. Luke Lucchese getting the pass on James Pepper, though, a little bit ahead as he goes after Bago. Oh, it does look like a lockup into turn one. Troy Dolenchik losing out that little bit of time. That's allowed Jason to get right onto the back of him. And also, you've got Faree looking around the outside, backs out of it, though, into the chicane. A bit of a lockup for Jason Kutsi, who tried getting an aggressive pass. Didn't work out there. That's cost him time. And gearbox to nose as they make their way through. Etienne Swart landing up in a bit of an accident. You can see Jason using a little bit of go-karting moves to keep Faree at bay. Middle of the circuit. That does slow him down a little bit and allow Bago Krobler to get into the tow as he pulls himself along. Doak Herber landing up in the pits. Here comes Bago Krobler with the likes of Luke Lucchese diving up on the inside. Gets the pass done. Bago losing the drive, and James Pepper now trying to close down the distance. So Luke Lucchese up 2 positions. James Pepper now up on the inside, tries to go for late on the brakes. Bago a little bit later. Jan Krobler in the Rothmans colour is going and doing everything he can. Like Mansell, he will battle it out till the wire and will have to be dragged out of that car. That is for certain. But out in front is Troy Dolenchik opening up the gap to Jason Kutsi. Jan Free trying to close down the distance as he sees Luke Lucchese in his mirrors. Bago Krobler trying to snap the toe of James Pepper right behind him as they make their way into the long left-hander. You've got to try and keep it all together. James goes off circuit, though. That is going to get him off track, and he's got to be so careful to do things like that. Otherwise, he will land up in a world of trouble. Bago Krobler keeping it calm, keeping it clean. Troy Dolenchik locking it up. Jason Kutsi locking it up into the hairpin, and it shows me both drivers are starting to feel it. And it does look like Christopher Busch dropping down. He gets it sideways, losing out down through the field. Bago Krobler also having a bit of a problem. So Bago Krobler landing up in a problem. Let's take a look. He landed into contact with the likes of James Pepper. What on earth happened to the two? Let's see if we can go back a fraction just to see what happened to the two. Making their way through. And James Pepper, tank slapper, and nowhere to go. No control into the side of Bago Krobler. And that is all she wrote. Unfortunately, a little bit of touch on the dirt, and that car becomes a missile, and you're the next passenger on your way through. So Bago Krobler getting absolutely T-boned by James Pepper. Unfortunately, both their races getting severely compromised. Both getting back to the pits and can get those cars out. They just got to get it in gear and get going. Don't quit yet, guys. You need to try and get those cars back on circuit. So a little bit of an interesting run as the drivers make their way through. Closest race going on, though, is Timothy Stanton, who has got Jeff Hancock's all over the back of him, and Herman Lazarus trying to catch up to them. Jeff Hancock's going out a little bit wide as he's right onto the back of Timothy Stanton. Werner Swart starting to get a little bit more of a drive. Jeff getting it past, and Timothy, having a bit of a correct there to try and save the car. The Honda utilizing the special tribute to Honda from Red Bull F1 way back in 2022, 2021. No, it would be 2022. They ran those colors at Suzuka as a tribute to the partnership between Honda and the World Championship team of the likes of Red Bull. Out in front, though, also wearing some championship colors, is Troy Dolenchik in the Mercedes colors, battling his way through. He has got Jason Kutsi trying to close down the distance. The RDSA Esports hoping to get a little bit closer. Humphrey lying in third place has got Luke Lucchese in his mirrors, watching him very, very carefully at this point as he keeps an eye on the action. Werner Swart also making his way through. Looks like he's caught up to the back of, that might have been Doak Herber that's just ahead of him. And yes, it is. That's the 69 car of Doak Herber. He is now getting blue flagged, and he's got 3 corners to jump out the way. or risk getting a penalty. So Werner Swart now is right onto the back of him. And let's see, 2 corners, 3 corners. This is the time you're going to have to get out the way, unfortunately. And it's going to kill your drive. There he is. He jumps out of the way. He's going after Bago Krobler a little bit ahead up the road. Werner Swart, though, in 5th position, saying thank you very much, getting past. Jeff Hancock's now trying to keep the drive up. He's got to get past Doug Herber, that's ahead of him, along with the likes of Timothy Stanton. So Jeff Hancock's teammate to the team Tryhard Racing now has got his teammate who's blue flagged behind, in front of him, and busy going on the radio saying, listen guys, I got to get him out the way. Please, 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 I'm under pressure here. Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman, once again, these two are doing amazing battles between one another. Herman Lazarus soaking up pressure as Nico Killerman trying to lay down the pressure onto the back of him. But Herman knows how to get a bit boisterous. He knows how to get those shoulders out and is going to put in a monstrous fight at the moment. Really trying to carve his way through the field. He's eyeing in 8th place. Nico Killerman trying to catch up to him. Gets a much better drive. Has the door closed on him. He's going to try look for that inside line, under braking, and backs out of it. Chooses not to. He's going to try and follow the tow into the slipstream, but that is taking pressure off the front of the car. Getting a little bit of a slide, having to realize this is turning into a bit of a tricky situation for him. Herman Lazarus, though, carrying the momentum through, has got all the downforce he needs to keep going, while Nico, at this point, is in the slipstream. Yes, he has a straight line, but this is hurting him in the long run because he has got no grip on the front, so he has to be well aware of the situation at hand and figure out how he can get past in a bit of a run. Looking at Luke Lucchese, he got a bit of an off track, and let's see, I think this was heading into turn 1, and I think he just put a wheel off, came into turn 1 a little bit too fast. Yep, going very, very wide. He's able to bring it back, but he's trying everything he can to close down the distance between himself and Johan Ferree a little bit ahead. So, closest battle out on circuit is Herman Lazarus and Nico Killerman. Second to that has to be Ferree and Coetzee. They are also within a second of one another. And Coetzee starting to feel the pressure as Ferree's right onto the back of him, trying to close it down. You can hear feather the throttle through the corner and trying to keep it all in check. A little bit of counter steer on the way up the hill, having to keep it all in order. Troy Dolenchik doing the fastest lap time though, 1:28.5. As he looks to get away as quick as possible. The Sujan driver hoping to get a win here for Heat 2 and try and keep some points in the bag, especially for the F4 Championship. Jason Coetzee in 2nd place, along with Jan Ferree in 3rd. 4th is Luke Lucchese, Werner Swart in 5th, followed by Jeff Hancock's, Timothy Stanton, along with Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman, Etienne Swart, along with Christopher Bush, lying in 11th place. 12th, Bago Krobler, Doug Herber, and James Pepper running at the back of the field. It looks like he has retired as well. So the guy's having a little bit of a problem out there. James Pepper just not having the race he wanted to have, especially here at Oulton Park. But let's take a look at this little battle. 9th and 8th in a fight of their own. Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman duking it out with one another. We've seen it through the season. These two have come to blows in both the touring cars and in the world of the F4s. Both of them having a ton of fun out on the track, really pushing the boundaries of what they can do. Herman Lazarus trying to go out a little bit wide, hard onto the brakes. Nico Killerman right into the back of him, trying to carry the momentum through, not able to get it just as yet as they put the power down, making their way through, really trying to claw out where it can go. Herman Lazarus having to brake a little bit harder than planned as he lost the drive, and here comes Nico Killerman into the slipstream. This is going to help. Herman can just move a fraction into the middle of the circuit, try and make life a bit difficult, but Nico's going to try his luck. Looks to the inside, backs out of it though, through the long right-hander, deciding not to get too involved in the battle at hand. Jason Coetzee though is right onto the back well, he's getting a little bit closer to Troy Dolenchik, not right on the back. There's a Bago Krobler is going to be just ahead of him. So Jan Ferree, Jason Coetzee are in a battle. They have got the likes of Bago Krobler, who's running in 12th place. Bago was towards the front. Unfortunately, the earlier contact landed up with him getting a bit of a tow back to the pits after the T-bone. And unfortunately, was just a passenger in that accident. And yeah, as I said, James Pepper touching in the dirt, and then it was just an absolute missile. It doesn't matter what you do. You can steer left, right, hit the brakes, lock it up. It's just not going anywhere. You're going to go spearing off straight, and you just hope that the cars weren't around. Unfortunately, Bago Krobler rolled the dice and got snake eyes by the end of it. Herman Lazarus got Nico Killerman looking around him, trying to do everything he can. And this is our closest battle on the circuit, 0.3 of a second between these two as they battle out for 8th and 9th position respectively. On the charge, further up here and freeing, Jason could see trying to close down the distance to one another. Herman Lazarus getting a fantastic drive out of that chicane, and that opens up a gap ever so slightly, but Nico Killerman utilizing that slipstream, keeping it nice and tucked in as they battle their way through. And if you take a look at through the roll bar of Herman Lazarus, he is keeping an eye on the mirrors. He's focusing just ahead of him. You can see Timothy Stanton just ahead of him, and he's going, all right, I need to close the distance down between it. But it's got this problem right behind him. This is Nico Killerman, who you can see utilizing the slipstream, coping with having no pressure on the front wing, having to come slightly out just to allow a bit of pressure on the front nose to try and close down the distance. Doug Herber getting ahead of Bago Krobler. That was a change up for position. So Bago a little bit further down the order as planned. But in through the right-hander, both of them going out a bit wide. Can you hear how early they're getting on the throttle to try get a little bit of momentum out of the corner. Herman Lazarus, though, defensive, locking in that inside line. Nico Killerman trying to do everything he can. Tried looking for the inside line, was unable to do it, but is going to get into the toe. Going to have the run, though. Can he utilize it going into the hairpin? He's going to keep it nice and close. This is where you're going to have to either lick it and send it or get comfy. It looks like he's going to get comfy on this one as he's right up against Herman Lazarus. Keeps a very, very tight line on the exit to just try and swing the momentum through as they both get the power down in through the chicane. Can't send it up here. It's very, very risky. Otherwise, going to land up meeting the tires, as we saw a little bit early on in the race. A couple of guys running into those tires, going and having a slight misjudge of where the dirt is. And unfortunately, the grass on Oulton Park is very, very unforgiving, both in the sim and in real life, where drivers have described going off circuit is pretty much like hanging onto a roller coaster. You will only know when it stops, not when you have control. And on a very tight, twisty circuit like Oulton Park, it does remind me very close to Brands Hatch. They're actually very close to one another. Brands Hatch being one of my favorite circuits, and Oulton Park also a fantastic circuit. Both of them actually have the same designer, believe it or not. That was part of the design team. Jeff Hancock, so, as we saw, slightly off circuit. He went and dropped a wheel off the track and lost out not one but two positions, locking it up, goes a bit wide, counter steers on the grass, tries to pull it back. There's the snap, and losing out two positions as the drivers, well, three positions, as we saw Timothy Stanton actually come by. So Jeff Hancock's losing out, and we'll have to work on gaining that time back. Out in front, though, after 12 minutes and 40 seconds, Troy Dolanchik, Jason Coetzee in second place, Jan Fourie in third, fourth, Luke Lucchese, followed by Werner Swart, Timothy Stanton, Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman right behind. Jeff Hancock's in 9th. 10th is Etienne Swart, Christopher Bosch in 11th. 12th place is Doug Herber, followed by Bago Krobler and unfortunately retired James Pepper, who got it. And it does look like Bago Krobler landing up off track. And let's see what happened to him. And the Rothman's car going out a little bit wide. Got the cars, leaders catching up, goes up high to try and mind out the way, and unfortunately just that change in camber going and landing up with a massive, massive smack into the wall. That's cost him the time and allowed Doug Herber to gain position. So as our racing continues, out in front is Troy Dolanchik. Did put a wheel off track though. He did the quickest lap time of a 1 minute 28.44. Jason Coetzee going and doing a 1:28.49 on that last lap. So definitely stepping up the pace and currently holds the fastest lap of the race. That is not cut out or not invalidated by off tracks. So he is really putting down the hammer down to get away from Jan Fourie. Luke Lucchese doing everything he can to try and keep onto the toe. Werner Swart in 5th place as he keeps going. He's got, looks to be Doug Herber trying to make up some time. Timothy Stanton in 6th. 7th is Herman Lazarus along with Nico Killerman. These two are still keeping 0.5 of a second between each other. Jeff Hancock's hoping to get a little bit closer to them before the end of the race. Etienne Swart getting a fantastic drive. He's also trying to claw his way up. Currently up 2 positions from where he started. Christopher Busch, though, up 3 positions from where he started, and is going to be quite happy with that. Nico Killerman, though, getting it off track, and I think that was into the chicane, going out a little bit wide. That's killed his drive and lost out nearly 2 seconds. Outbraked himself onto the dirt, brought it back, but just outbraking himself into the chicane. So easy to do. You get tunnel vision into the car ahead of you, and you land up in a world of hurt. So the guys having to try and figure out what they can do to get a little bit more of a jump. Jason Coetzee doing everything he can to close down the distance. And Troy Dolinchik, I do apologize. Jeez, my English ran away from me. Jason Coetzee, though, also trying to run out a little bit wide as Jan Free starting to close the distance. Luke Lucchese also getting a bit quicker. He has closed up by 0.3 of a second to the likes of Jan Free on that last lap, and is slowly trying to draw in Free. The mellow yellow driver has to be well aware of the situation that is happening behind him. Werner Swart also having a bit of a battle. He has got Doug Herber, who is a back marker in his mirrors, so he's got to just go and think, okay, he's a back marker, he's blue flags, I don't need to worry about him. I need to keep my head posted on what's happening in front of me and keep my drive and not be psyched out. Doug Herber, on the other hand, is saying, just pull me along, buddy. Pull me along. I'm catching up to Christopher, who's lying in 11th position, and you're giving me the tow. Timothy Stanton, he's lying in 6th position. 7th is Herman Lazarus. Nico Killerman lying in 8th. 9th is Jeff Hancox, who's trying to close down the distance and has closed down the distance to him. He's now only 3.5 seconds behind versus the 4.5 that he had previously. Etienne Swart also making his way through, kept a very nice, clean race at the moment, and has been on an almighty charge in the yellow, blue, and red. Christopher Busch also trying to get a bit more of a drive, had a bit of a disastrous Heat 1. Heat 2, though, lying in 11th place, is going to be a good drive for him as they make their way through. A couple of drivers dropping a wheel off circuit. Got to be well aware of that, because we do have penalty limits, and that will also cause drivers to get a drive-through penalty. Not exactly what you want to be dealing with, especially on a time like this. Jason Coetzee was also one of the drivers to get it off track, as we see Troy Dolinchik once again into the hairpin, locking the brakes up. Front right just not going and loving what he's doing at the moment, but he's able to keep it all together and keeping that 2.6 second lead to Jason Coetzee in second place. Jan Free is in third. Luke Lucchese now closing down the distance within a second between the two of them, and it's going to be a race down to the wire for them, as they got 17 minutes. Well, they've done 17 minutes of the race. They're getting closer and closer to only 2 minutes left once they hit that 18 minutes, which is going to give them roughly about bad at math, yeah, but I think roughly about 2 to 3 laps to get those cars across the line this circuit here at Oulton Park. And just commentator's curse, I just saw come flashing up. Christopher Busch going and landing up with a bit of a problem. This is into turn 1, tries to keep it all together, snap oversteer, goes round. He's able to keep it out of the wall, bring it back beautifully, but those tires are now going to be crying in pain. He's going to be well aware of it. Luke Lucchese closing down the distance, so now 0.4 of a second. A little bit further back, though, Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman are also having a race, and they've now finally caught up to Timothy Stanton just ahead of him as they make their way around. So this is getting nice and close between them as a 3-car train. But Luke Lucchese right onto the back of Johan Free. The mellow yellow now having to deal with the RDSA Pantera racing machine just ahead of him, as they also do battle. They see the smoke kicking up from Jason Coetzee and Troy Dolinchik, who are going deep into the corner. Luke Lucchese does look for the inside line, and unable to do so, gets back into the tow as they make their way through the chicane, both cutting it very close. Does look like Jan Free going in a little bit too deep, though, and Luke Lucchese getting slightly caught out on that one. Now making the drive into the tow, looks on the inside, backs out of it. Luke Lucchese really hunting down the wire, goes off circuit though, drops a wheel, and will need to keep the power up. These are incredibly close drives between them. Nico Killerman onto the back of Herman Lazarus under braking, so there is 2 battles going out on circuit that are getting closer and closer. Timothy Stanton, Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman are battling out 6th, 7th, 8th, and this is for 3rd place. Jan Free and Luke Lucchese are right on top of one another. They're going for the final top spots of the podium. And white flag being waved by Jim. That is to signal the final lap for this driver, Troy Dolanchik, who's leading out the field. Jason Coetzee in second place has to do everything he can. Jan Free and Luke Lucchesi have only just a couple of corners to try and make up who's going to be standing on the top spot. And Jan Free looking to try and score another podium for his run. After this evening, he's been on a phenomenal drive. Luke Lucchesi joining in late and only being able to get into Heat 2. He is on a phenomenal drive, trying to catch up and looking to try and take away that podium spot. Bego Krobler, I just see, landed up in a bit of an incident as well. He is further down in 13th position, but this is the battle for third place. Carrying their way through, there's Bego Krobler. That was in through the chicane. Both drivers had to realize there was a yellow flag, a little bit of a slow up. And Jan Free paid for it. He's holding that inside line. You can see how hard he's trying to keep it as Luke Lucchesi trying to go around the outside. Luke going to be a little bit brave though. Goes out wide, drops the wheel on the dirt. Free comes back at him. Luke Lucchesi trying to hold side by side, right up the gearbox between the two. Luke Lucchesi going defensive, trying to hold Free at bay. Goes around the outside. Free doing everything he can. Loses out a little bit of a drive, getting back into the tow as they make their way around. But checkered flag going out to Troy Dolanchik. Jason Coetzee in second. Free up on the inside of Luke Lucchesi, well, around the outside of Luke Lucchesi, but outbreaks himself. Luke Lucchesi getting the drive down to the wire. Who's going to get the checkered flag? Luke Lucchesi taking third place. Free right at the end, unable to get it, but was so close. Gaining fourth position. Werner Swart taking fifth position. Sixth, going with Timothy Stanton ahead of Herman Lazarus, who has got Nico Killerman under a second behind him, trying to go late on the braking, doing everything he can to gain up a little bit of time as they fight their way through. But I think that's how it's going to finish. Sixth going to the Stanton, seventh Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman in eighth. Ninth place going to Etienne Swart, who had a phenomenal drive there, up 3 positions from where he started. Christopher Busch, after everything he had in Heat 1, it looks like he had Lady Luck Smile back on him and finished up 4 positions in 10th place. So he is up 4 positions from where he started. The 777 finally getting the break he needed. Doug Herber finishing up in 11th, followed by Jeff Hancock's Bego Krobler and James Pepper, unfortunately having a bit of a rough round 3 here at Oulton Park. But what a race it was, ladies and gentlemen, for all our drivers here for the Raceface F4 Championships Season 1, Round 3 at Oulton Park. 2 heats done and dusted, all powered by Adendorff Machinery Mart. And here goes. What? I'm out of breath at this point. Absolutely out of breath. What a phenomenal run out there. But Troy Dolanchik taking first place. After coming in late, he got that first place, scoring some points for Heat 2, losing out in Heat 1. Jason Coetzee taking second place, followed by Luke Lucchesi, who had that awesome fight to the end with Jan Free, who really took it down to the wire and had to really figure out what he could do. Both drivers taking it all to the limit. Werner Swart taking 5th place and getting ahead in not 1 but 2 races. And absolutely incredible stuff there. Timothy Stanton, Herman Lazarus, Nico Killerman, Etienne Swart, Jeff Hancock's, as we go further down the field, Doug Herber, Bego Krobler, and James Pepper rounding out our field. Here are the F4s, brought to you by Raceface. Season 1 are the F4s, and powered by Adendorff Machinery Mart. That's got the incredible prize on the line. A big, giant, multiple $1,000 toolbox that is industry grade, something you really want to have. And a big shout out to them for being a part of all the action. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coming up this week, we have got tomorrow night, round 6 at Messino for our GT3 Sprint Series Season 10. Let's see if Ryan Hottons will be able to keep his crown, or will he lose it on the end. Bash, after having a fantastic drive, looking to claw his way through the field. And that is tomorrow night for a set of Corsa Competizione for the GT3 Sprint Series Season 10. And then coming up on Thursday, round 5 of the Grid Championship, brought to you by Metal State and Raceface, powered by MTN. And you heard that right, MTN sponsoring it for round 5. Heading over to Messino, they're going to have some great fun in an hour and 20 minutes of racing. All the drivers having to think what they can do. 2 pit stops, mandatory. Well, Let's see what the drivers are going to do with that one. Change the tires, maybe, or risk it down to the wire. Also coming up around 5, 9th of September, we head out to Germany for the Automobilista 2. And it's going to be a lot of fun as they power their way through in the Automobilista 2 F1 cars. Hoping to get a little bit more of a drive utilizing the DRS there in Germany. Looking forward to that. I believe they're going to Hockenheim in that one. Coming up also, F1 2023, they race this evening. They will be racing next week on the 12th of September as they head to Qatar, a very new track to the world of Raceface for their Raceface F1 2023, as it's going to be a lot of fun, and the track itself not the easiest to deal with. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we start taking a look at what's to come up. Round 4. We head to Okayama for the final race of the TCRs on the 19th of September. Their fours looking to battle out for the final time and really have a huge amount of fun out there. And also we just had Oulton Park, so we will be moving on to the likes of Okayama next week for our TCRs. Our TCR's hoping to get a little bit more of a run, and there it is on the 12th of September. Keep an eye out for that. It's going to be an incredible one to see the final round of the championship for both the F4s and the TCRs coming up in the coming weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on behalf of myself, Stephen Kurdick, and also my co-commentator who wasn't here this evening but does send his regards, Yanaman Praise, we look forward to seeing you guys next time as we see you here at Raceface for a lot more fun. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon for all the upcoming races. You can leave us a like if you enjoy the racing, a thumbs down if you missed out on a few bits and pieces. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like always, we'll see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.